July 12th meeting of the Meriwether County Board of Commissioners. We'd like to ask at this time, if you have a cell phone, if you'd please turn it off or silence it until we get through the meeting. If you'll please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge. Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day that you've given us. We thank you that we have the opportunity to gather here to take care of the business of the county. We thank you for all those who are present. We ask that you be with them during the meeting and also on their return home. Be with us as we take care of the business. Guide our words, our thoughts, and our actions, that will give glory to you and at the same time take care of the needs of this county. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, we need to adopt the agenda. Can we have a motion to adopt it as printed? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? We have the minutes from the June 27th regular meeting. We've had the opportunity to read over these. Are there any corrections or changes that need to be made?
I move we accept them as presented, Madam Chair.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, we come to the time for municipal comments, and we're glad to have so many of our cities represented. First, we'll have Mayor Glover from Greenville.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I want to let the county, especially the commissioners, know about the compliments you all are receiving or have received about the report for the 4th of July action card. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback to our office. Number 2, I need to know the status of the baseball field at the middle school, because I'm getting calls about an hour.
Yes, it came before the board to just ask if we consider looking at that. I need to get with Mr. Johnny Kuykendall and just go down and with you and take a look at that. We're also working on looking at the gymnasium, and I have been with Dr. Dixon on that, and actually Beverly pulled a copy of the lease for me, so I have that, and I'll be working on that as well. So I'll try to, Charlotte, I'll try to get that scheduled for us next week, and we can have to take a look at that.
Okay, and the last one is phone numbers for county officers. And Brent just told me to go to the Meriwether County.
Yeah, if you go to the new website, it's right there across the top of the page, the department system for.
Okay,
All right, thank you. All right, we have Mr. Westbury from Manchester.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, but I have nothing to share.
Okay, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor Hancock from Luthersville.
I'm glad to be here. Sorry I missed the last meeting. I was out of town, but I have nothing else.
Glad you're here. Mayor Prater from Warm Springs.
I bring you greetings from across the northern border of Canada. It's our privilege to represent Warm Springs, Meriwether County, at the 150th anniversary of Canada's Confederation. We were warmly welcomed, and the last thing I said in the meetings that I was able to speak to, I said, when you come down, when the snow begins to fall, and you begin to look for the sun, come south, get off of I-75, come down to Meriwether County, and all Pleasant County. Things are going good in Warm Springs right now.
Thank you. Are any other cities represented that I've missed? I don't see any of our constitutional officers represented. I know they've got court going on, so I'm assuming most of them were involved with that. And should I just skip the department head since we're going to do the report? We're going to get some reports from them. Okay, we don't have a need for a public hearing unless someone tells me anything any different. And we actually have no old business.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. And our new business, since we did not have a lot on the agenda, our plans was to hear from our department heads perhaps a little more in depth about what's going on in their area. So we will start with that, Mr. Gaten, if you had a particular,
I'm just
Well,
glad
you want to
one
start?
volunteer to come up, and we're going to get everybody, and I think they're all ready to give you guys a report on it. So, Brett, how about you come on up, buddy?
Sure.
3 minutes.
I'm talking, this is a brief something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try to keep it to a minimum based on the eyes that begin to roll. The eyes that begin to roll. But no, I just wanted to kind of share with you kind of the new statistics that we've been able to pull with our new system over the last 2 years. And one of those that's very important is we receive just over 17,000 911 calls per year. Yeah. And in the last 365 days, I pulled this report yesterday, we've done over 17,000 911 calls, right at 34,000 admin calls. So anything can come in our admin line. We do get almost as many calls for service through the admin line. Some people believe that their house being broken into is not a true emergency for 911. Or if it has been broken into and they just come home and found their door kicked open. And then you have some people that call 911 to find out when the carnival's coming to Manchester, or something like that. But the reality is we have to approach every call every time the phone rings, 911 or not. But if it comes to that center, we have to approach it like it is something serious. One of the biggest statistics that we're pretty proud of is of those calls, we answer those in 10 seconds or less 98.65% of the time, which the national standard is 90%. I would like to see that number higher because it kind of, that 1.35%, what's happening there. But for the most part, we do at times become overwhelmed. Just a matter of, especially if it's on the interstate or if you have a major, if you have something major happening in a highly populated area where a lot of people see it, they all call. One of the other things too that we're working on now is we're working on a complete revamp of our SOPs, try to get those up to date, and so we're revisiting those. We're kind of doing a reboot and a rewrite, reevaluation, see what we need to change. Along with that too is I'm proud to say we're at full staffing now. We have 3 people in training, of course, and the training period lasts usually at least 6 months, and then even after that, they're still considered, green and should have somebody strong with them. But one of the biggest things is emergency medical dispatching. We don't do that currently. Used to be if you did pre-arrival instructions, emergency medical dispatching, you were kind of setting yourself out there for some liability. Well, now it's reversed. Now it's the standard. So we're kind of under more liability not to do it. So in our upcoming year, I've asked for funding to do that. Along with that too is going to come what I call a boot camp for our seasoned personnel, for them to kind of go back and for us to revisit some of the smaller things that sometimes get overlooked, and to revisit training on our new equipment. That's pretty much it for 911. Like I said, one of the biggest things is we're at full staffing now, and hopefully in 6 months, if we retain those personnel that we have, we will be, totally 100% where we want to be. On the other side of things, our website went live last weekend. Friday night I put it live, just because I wanted to be able to watch it during the weekend, and we didn't have any problems. The road work request has officially kicked off as well. We actually have a member here who used it yesterday, and Commissioner McCoy confirmed that he got a copy of it. So we're trying to push our technology along, and we are actually, I think, starting to surpass some of the counties of similar size. I'm happy to report that, and even larger counties. And then the other final thing is we did the employee portal. I showed that to you guys some months back. We're continuing to add some things to it. We added some new things to it yesterday, but as it becomes more and more popular, this is where Beverly can actually send employees for information.
Question. That came to Commissioner McCoy, did it also go to Public Works?
Yes, went to Public Works.
He doesn't have to forward that one anyway,
Nope,
it's just his
just an
information.
FYI, so he can, if he chooses so, to ask when he sees Tyrell, or if he sees it come in again. And yes, sir,
Will that come to me as well?
I can make it come to you.
That would be good too.
Yeah,
Just have, that way we have a,
yeah,
I know what's going on, with the commissioners.
yeah, we can do that, not a problem.
Brent, I have a question.
yes,
When
ma'am.
the work is completed or it's put on a list, will there be correspondence back so that they'll have information on that? So you got.
I believe they
request.
receive an email when it's closed. I'll check on that to make for sure. I do know that they can log in if they create. Ma'am, did you actually create did you sign in yesterday and create? Okay, so she created an account, which you can do, so you can actually go back in and check the status of that.
Okay, good.
If you create an account, if you do it as a guest, you can't. You have the option to sign in, create an account, or just create it as a guest. So.
But I guess my biggest thing is once the work is completed or there's an acknowledgement of it, that there's a way to respond back to the individual once they have put in their request.
I'll have to look. That's, if we did it, if we did the form ourselves, yes, I know that. I can control that. But because it's done through iWork,
Okay.
I'll have to call and ask them if that will do that. Be honest with you, I don't know, in short.
But it should be limited on who can close a ticket. Like
Oh, the only ones that can close the ticket is who can get into the iWork system. Yeah, that's the only one that can. And right now, I think it's Tyrell and Sue, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, I can, but I'm not going to close something. So, in short, I think I kept that to a minimum.
I have some questions for you. Madam Chair, I have a question for you. On the calls that you're receiving, are any of them, or is there a specific number for non-emergency numbers, or is it the same?
Well,
Everything comes in on the same line?
No, we actually have 6 911 lines and we have 6 admin lines.
Okay.
Our main admin line is a 3809 number. It rolls to the other 5. You can call any of those other 5 and it'll come in. Like, for example, we specify our alarm companies, they call on 3812. Now, 3812, of course, if 3812 is busy, it'll roll to one of the other lines. But if we know 3812 rings and there's nothing else on there, it's more than likely it's an alarm company calling us. But yeah, the answer to your question is yes, we can get anything on those admin lines.
Okay. And going back to your boot camp / training, is this training that your department's going to administer directly, or is it an outside type of training? And is there training on a state basis for those who are in your department?
They do that initially. They do the basic communicator training. We're getting more and more involved with APCO, the Association of Public Safety Communication Officers, and what I really want to do is, like, after we do the EMD, which will be through APCO, I want to move on to the fire discipline and law enforcement discipline as well, which gives them, just a certification in that. But there's some additional cost to that, so we kind of have to ease that in, as we do that, just based on what we can afford.
Do you think providing this additional training will help reduce the number of turnover that you have in your department? Or I know your department, it's not just Meriwether County, it's something that happens in all counties with a high turnover, and this department.
I don't think it's going to affect it.
Haven't affected.
No. I really don't. I mean, honestly, I think it's just going to make us better with what we do, and that's the overall goal. Yes, I want to reduce turnover. Our turnover is really not that bad. It's getting people through the training. I had one the other day. She quit after a week. She came in and she just realized it wasn't for her. Reality is about 50% don't make it through.
That was my next question, is it the percentage of people leaving in the midst of training or once they've been there? Because, I mean, I know other counties.
Highest percentage is in the middle of training. Once they get through the training, we usually retain them for a pretty good while.
Thank you.
Just a bit.
And I'd actually like to see something from all department heads that tells us what everyone's plan is to have better retention in the departments. Because we do need that, and we need the accountability of everybody to let us know what they're doing.
I agree, because it does cost us a significant amount of money, especially in 911. 911's a little different animal than the rest because we do all of our training in-house. Everything's on the job, except during their 6 months, we decide whether we're going to send them to school. After 3 months, we pretty much decide if they're a good fit for us. They decide if they're a good fit. We have a conversation with them, okay? And then we'll go through the cost of sending them to school in Forsyth. They go for a week. We pay them to go. So when they come back, they're certified as a basic communication public safety officer. And then they finish their training up. After 6 months, they're released from the training. They're actually promoted from public safety communication officer training to public safety communication officer 1. And then there's public safety communication officer 2, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and so forth. And that's one of the things that I wanted to do, is I wanted to give our folks somewhere to go, not just be stuck in one position. They can earn certifications, they can promote, they have additional responsibilities at that point, like training, be able to be the officer in charge if their supervisor's out, things like that.
And do we do 30, 60, 90 day after their start date to see how things are going for them personally on 30 days?
We do weekly evaluations with them in their training. I pull people in every 2 to 3 weeks just to ask them how everything's going. Are they, is it everything they thought it was going to be? Is there, many issues, problems, or what have you? That they are, it's kind of, our county employee has a 90-day probation, okay, here. So that's usually why we reevaluate them at the 90 days. They're eligible for benefits, all that. And we decide at that point if we're going to keep them. Technically, with our department, they have another 90 days of probation. It's 6 months. And because the training takes every bit of that, to where we can release them, we feel comfortable to release them to be able to work without a trainer.
And I understand the weekly thing, but what I'm saying is, if it is 90 days that we can release them or decide to keep them, then even though we're doing weekly, why not do that 30 day and say, okay, you tell me, how's it going for you? What can we do better? What do you see? 60 day, do that, and then 90 day, close that out with whoever the department head is and there. So that is, and it's not like we have that many employees in the county, so that we could do that 30, 60, 90, and the final 90 days in a meeting with him, so that it's an open discussion for that employee as well. Because I'd like to see that. I do think that it makes the employee feel more in with the county when they have that voice to be able to express themselves in that 30, 60, 90. Because I give all my employees that option when I hire them. And it gives me room to grow also.
Good idea.
Particularly if the employee is struggling in scenarios, you have an opportunity to address them rather than wait until the end of 90 days.
That's right. So 30 days this isn't working, so get it fixed by 60.
Right.
Mr. Gay, I do have one other question in reference to what Mr. Grego just brought up. If in those 30, 60, 90 days, and if they find out they're not a good fit in that department, but they still want to work for the county, do we offer any other incentives, because sometimes people get into a company or a organization to get their foot in the door, and then they find out, well, this was the only opening that you had at the time, I really wanted something else. Do we also offer that? Because there are some really good employees that may not be a good fit for that one particular department.
We have done that in the past.
Okay.
In one particular case, we had a certified police officer that was working for us and wasn't going to make it at the 911 center, but just so happened that the jail needed somebody in the jail that was actually mandated, and he went over there, you know, for a while, and of course he later on left, but I think they got about a year or two out of him, you know. But yes, we do. If it's a situation to where I think that they would be a good fit for the county, because, you know, an interview process only works so well until you determine somebody, especially if they have an issue with attendance, you know, tardiness and so forth. But you know, for the most part, like I said, if we have a position for them, I mean, you know, available, you know, for the most part, most people that apply for the 911 position, you know, they're not a fit for public works. They're not a fit for EMS unless they have the EMS licensing. They're not a fit for, you know, what have you know, at some point. But in the case of the jail, you know, we have done that. We've had a couple actually lateral transfers.
And the reason I bring that up is because Mr. Gay had indicated that there was an individual that applied for a job for the county, was interviewed quite well, but that position did not fit at the time, and it was a good potential employee for the county. So
We did send that application, I believe, over to another department that had opened, because we were, this person we interviewed, really, we needed some immediate, certain skill sets. They didn't have that, but we had a position where they could grow into it. I think they would have done very well.
been a good employee.
And this gets back to what you're talking about, the 30, 60, 90-day review. If you get into 90 days and the person has just done a terrible job, for whatever reason, then they're probably not going to get a favorable recommendation from the department. But if the person realizes after 30 days or 60 days, look, this is just not me, and it's very straightforward with it, then I think at that point, we certainly could make a good favorable recommendation to the department.
And that's our case. If I find that I have somebody that is just not making it, but they're a great employee and they're a great person, have a wonderful person, yeah, I'll look around for something for them in the county if we can. You know, but like you said, I guess maybe it's fortunate. We don't always have a lot of openings. And then what we do is pretty much specific to a certain type of person as far as what they do. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Do we have a volunteer for next, or start calling up?
Gee.
Y'all bear with me. I don't know if I've had enough coffee or maybe too much or not enough. I'm not sure. Good morning. I'm going to probably jump around a little bit. I've prepared some, and I don't know if I have enough detail, or again, maybe too much. But we've been working pretty hard. A lot of the stuff we do is routine. I feel like sometimes when I give an update, it's redundant. We're still working on organizing ourselves, creating the structure that we need. A lot of this is implementing new programs, inventory control, things like that in some areas we never have done before. Trying to make sure that we have system checks in place, make sure that there's no hemorrhaging going on that we don't know about. Not just assuming that things are okay, but looking and making sure. We're doing okay, I think, with our personnel. Kind of jumping into the fact that I think Brenda was having to deal with was personnel. We've had some turnover. I believe the turnover that we had is actually for the good. I think our crew is getting stronger every day. The morale seems stronger and better every day. And I'm speaking basically on both sides of fire and EMS. We had a little struggle a couple of weeks ago. I guess there was a couple that wanted to leave. Their end date was the same time, but we survived it. We didn't blow our overtime way out of the water, so we were really pleased with that. I was concerned there for a while. It was touch and go. Let me give a quick ISO update. It's, you know, last year we did some work with ISO inspection, getting a better rate for the county. It has come to my attention in the last month or two that there are a few people having problems, and I didn't understand why. As of Monday, through speaking with Paul from ISO, I've got an education. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to convey it to you, but there was actually a mistake made in one of the districts with Warm Springs, between Warm Springs and Woodbury, and the Durand area is also affected. For whatever reason, when they drew the line, they let the Warm Springs area extend out more than 5 miles, And so there are a couple of circumstances where if somebody is 3 miles from a station, they should be classified in that station, but there are some people that are 6 miles from Warm Springs and confined to that classification. Outside that 5-mile range, you get an ISO 10. There is no quick fix as far as redrawing that line of district without another survey, but I do want to make this known publicly, and if you have hear any questions on this, please refer them to me. What can be done is it can be fixed on a case-by-case basis. So if the insurance company will let their underwriting agent approach ISO with this, they will call and they will verify, and on an individual property basis, they will override the district line and manually put the persons where they need to be. So it's an inconvenience, but it's not a long-term problem. It's just going to be, we have to get it fixed, and in the meantime, there were a few people who, instead of insurance going down, it actually popped up a little bit. It was a mistake on the ISO company, and hopefully we'll get that rectified as soon as possible.
Chief, will our use stations and their locations help that situation?
It will be a tremendous help to ISO overall, and there's going to be several things. One of the things with ISO in this last survey we did was, we are a county fire department with many stations, but we had been maintaining the different fire districts for each station. And that's kind of an old-fashioned concept. Most counties, and we chose to kind of go away from that. So there, as far as, and the terminology is relative. So when you talk about a fire district, it doesn't necessarily mean a city boundary or county boundary. It's just a fire district for that fire department. What we've done is eliminate most of our fire districts to make it one Meriwether County Fire District. The one case that's causing this problem is in the Warm Springs area. We had a slightly better ISO rating, so ISO was going to let that fire district that actually reaches out past the city limits of Warm Springs into the county stand because it offers a slight advantage if you're within that 5 miles. That limitation should have been held to 5 miles, but for whatever reason, it was not. So that's the line we've got to draw back. We want to maintain that as a slight advantage. But going forward, I fully expect with the changes that we make in fire district, the enhancements that I think everybody's familiar with, I think we'll bring the county down to equal with the Warm Springs, and I think they'll both continue to go to improve and get better and better. So even then, there'll be less and less need for that district to be maintained. So it'll simplify things, make it a lot easier for the homeowners, the insurance companies, and probably us as far as managing goes. So there'll be definite improvements as far as it goes across the board. I really expect with the staffing and the improvements with the equipment and what we do, I mean, you can't promise it, but I'm really expecting significant improvements. Once we get down, we're 6 now in the county, 5 in Warm Springs. I can't remember, Manchester's a little better, but once we get down below 5 and 4, the increases really don't provide much advantage to the residential aspect of this, but it's more commercial. But that's still a huge plus for the county, the businesses, and helping those the entrepreneurs struggle with their finances and protection. So it's going to be a huge move forward, and I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to see the results. That will take a complete survey and maybe some time, but once we see that, it's going to be great. It'll also resolve that problem with the lines we were talking about. A little bit about the fire district tax. We are working, we have shared the plans. We've got a lot of comments and feedback on that. Looking forward to sitting down with the county administrator and trying to get some movement there. I think everybody in the department is very excited about that, wanting to move forward and see that ground broken. I threatened to sneak out there somewhere in 3 o'clock in the morning with my own shovel, you know, just to get it going. We have a GISTIC, Georgia Firefighter Standards and Training Council inspection coming up. It's a routine inspection. We will be doing that July 21st, I believe, if I'm not mistaken in the date. That's a Friday. It's a routine inspection they do just every so many years to audit us, make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, the way we're supposed to be doing it, we're legal, we're not hurting people, et cetera, et cetera. In preparation for that, we are doing some house cleaning, some organizing, and even some restocking of equipment, state minimums that need to be maintained on some of the trucks, replacing hose where there's an inadequate amount of hose, things like that. We have, I think you've already been made aware, we've received a trauma grant. It's not a huge grant, it's about $5,000 though, but that's actually a nice shot in the arm. We have pretty much used most of that grant on easy IOs. It's a vast improvement over to the system we have now. It is definitely trauma oriented. It's going to be a game changer for the type of service we can render to the people that need it. I think, and I'm sure some of you may be aware, it's hard to get an IV starter on somebody with no pulse, but with these it doesn't matter. You can get access. So it's a direct access to bone marrow, and in critical situations it can be a game changer. So it's going to be a great improvement. We're able to stock all the trucks with spare needles and whatnot for that grant. So there again, I mean, the service that we provide is improving, and it really is exciting to me when we do something that you think about it can actually, to save a life is a big deal. So if it's just one life we can save with it, I'll be tickled with that.
What's the name?
Easy IO. We have those type of, we have a type of that now, but it's kind of an older, it's not a good method. We don't use it that often. When we do, it's hard to make work. The equipment's not as good. It's a brand issue and quality issue. We're going to the Easy IO system. It's easy. It's almost right. And it's the other one. When you're in that type of situation, you need that. Time is everything, and it seems that we spend a lot of time with the old ones, trying to make it work, or it would fall apart and not get the access that we want. Where these are almost guaranteed, they're just better.
Right. I didn't hear what you meant.
Okay. We are making leaps and bounds on our new image trend software, which is a huge tool for us. I've mentioned that before. The state's providing that to us for free, but it is the one software that we're going to use to base everything that we do on. It's our inventory control, our tracking of everything we do, personnel-wise, all types of.
I'm sorry, what was that software called?
Image trend software.
Image
trend. Typically in the past, you would have to pay for those services. Firehouse would be a good example. And Firehouse was based on the size of your department and how much you had, how many people you had. For smaller organizations like Warren Springs, last time we bought there was about $500 a year. It was a small lease. But for the county or other places like that, it's quite expensive. And some larger fire departments pay, a really high rate. The state decided to streamline the reporting process of what we do for fire reporting. There were just a lot of gaps throughout the state. They wanted to streamline that, so they provided the image trend software. And I think their main goal was just to get the individual fire departments to where they would report. So as soon as we put our fire report in this, it's automatically up to the state. We don't have to fool with it, and it solves many problems at once. It simplifies things, it makes it easier. It also, and I'm not sure if we've ever addressed that here or not, when it comes to writing grants for fire departments, as with most grants, there's always strings attached. And one of the things that's held us back is our inability to file fire reports in a timely manner. The old-fashioned way was very time-consuming, tedious, but this situation, it takes a little longer to put in the computer, but once it's done, it's there. It automatically uploads. Not to mention that we can do on-the-fly searches for data or statistical returns, that we want to use to analyze what we're doing and how we're doing it. So it's a big deal for us. Training is another issue. We are still ongoing with a lot of training. A lot of our full-timers that we have now are still in the process of becoming fire certified. We are prepping and planning for the new people coming in as far as training and how we're going to do that in-house, probably. There are options there. We have a couple different programs we're going to start. It's just going to be something that is ongoing, and hopefully once we get it moving, never ending. It's not something we can ever really stop doing.
Has the state made some changes on the requirements for volunteer firefighters as well? Hasn't there been some new mandates?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, not just for volunteers, but for everybody.
Okay.
And that has floated back and forth over the years past.
Okay.
In recent years, up until I think it was before January 1 of 2016, there were 0 hours required, and now they have upped that to a minimum of 24 per year.
Is this like continuing education, or once you get your certification, you have to?
In our services, yes. I was going to say yes and no, but it's yes and yes. Because in our service, we have to, even our basic certification process, we go through that, but every year we're supposed to really return to those same basics and go through them every year. Whether it's fire or EMS, it's something that we can do, we're supposed to do on a continuing basis and never cease that. Not to mention the things that should take you above and beyond, new technology, new things you learn. So there's kind of that homework you do to keep where you are, and then that other work you do to kind of advance forward as the world around us is advancing also.
I guess one of the reasons I wanted to bring that up is, does that also have an effect on reaching out for those different grants? Because every grant has all these specifications, and if you have this, that's a plus, that's an extra point. So when you have this kind of ongoing training, is that a help, or?
I think when we write a grant and there's a narrative in there, I think when we can describe our county as a county of need, and there's, not that, I'm not going to say we're poor, we're just in need. But when we can describe our situation as a need and we're proactive and we're struggling to grow and improve, I think that's what most of these grants want to hear. It doesn't matter where you are, it's that you want to grow and improve. And when they see that you're doing something already to help yourself, I think that's who they want to help. A lot of these grants, I think, are designed to where I think in fact there's a fear that if they give us something, it'll be wasted. They want to know that we're going to put it to good use and not waste the money. So, BAs have been distributed all except for one truck, and we're having to modify trucks. Those SCBAs that we spent $330,000 on. I can't say thank you enough. That was a situation that we've been kind of overlooking for a long time. That, how to put this politically, we didn't really have a choice. Our hands were tied, but it was a precarious situation with the quality and of that equipment and what it could do for us. So that is a big deal for us. We have it everywhere, but I think in Primrose, and the reason it's not in Primrose is because it physically won't fit on the truck, and we're having to create and add to the truck a housing to protect it, because every truck will hold about $28,000 worth of gear, and we don't want it rolling around or being damaged or beat up. Especially when that equipment is to sustain life, we're going to protect it. The breathing packs, SCBAs.
Chief Heidenberg, have y'all gone to the fiberglass tanks and solution doing that, or y'all still have metal on your SCBAs?
Well, one of the things that this has allowed us to do is kind of standardize what we have in the county, because in the old days, people would find a need and they'd find a way to address it, and it usually wouldn't be on a large scale. And so they would kind of have stopgaps here and there and patches. And so we had just a myriad of different types of systems and packs and bottles. So what we've done with this is we've tried to create this one standard, and the older, lower pressure packs, we want to get rid of them. We don't want to use them. Now we will maintain a few for areas to keep us legal. We're saving in case we do. If we add new stations in fire district tax, which I think the plan is to, we will keep some at least to stock those, because if we fill a hole that doesn't have a station, that's a huge perk, but we have to put a truck there, we have to stock that truck with a lot of equipment, and it's cost a lot of money. So we're saving a few for those purposes. But for the most part, we're able to get rid of all kinds of different bottles, and most of the old ones are steel, and they're heavy, and they don't really store a lot of air. But the new ones are mostly composite fiber. It's an aluminum wrapped composite fiber bottle. Excuse me, it's aluminum bottle wrapped in composite fiber. So it's pretty much the standard of the day. Lighter, easier for the folks to carry and wear, and more comfortable. So
It gives you several more minutes when you're out there.
well, yes, sir, it does. In fact, I think the newer systems compared to the old one are probably about twice as long. It is measured at a certain amount of time, but it's relative to the person, what kind of shape they're in, and for me, it would be just a few seconds. So.
Understand.
Along with the BA bottles and the equipment, we will be looking at taking that old stuff out. We've got some ideas about what we want to do with it, but I'm probably approaching Theron and the board to see what we can do to get that equipment gone. I'm not sure if there's any value to it. We may scrap it. We may see if we can't auction it off. There might be a scrap metal advantage. A lot of people like to collect firefighting memorabilia, and I've seen a lot of these bottles turn into lamps. I mean, so whatever we can do, we can maybe generate some revenue with that, because we still have a lot of stuff to restock, mask, face pieces for these things, stuff like that, so. We have recently met again with Forestry Commission. In fact, last week I met with Mr. Mansour to try to reestablish something we'd started here with their program. In fact, they have several programs, but I would like to, hopefully today I've got some paperwork if I can catch Mr. Theron, and I'm not sure, I may need, Madam Chair, your signature as well. It is something that we've done in the past. We've not really taken advantage of it, but now with the change of hands with my arrival here, we need to get the paperwork updated. But I want to be aggressive because there's a lot offered there that we're really not taking advantage of, so we want to get that going. And it's a great program, and some of our neighboring counties have really benefited from that. One of the things that Jeff Mansour also indicated that he'll be glad to see is now that we have the stations and room to put trucks, the commission is much more willing to give us trucks because they didn't want to give us trucks before and have it sit outside and go to waste. So if there's a surplus truck out there, or if there's a surplus piece of equipment, they're again, kind of like we were talking about with the grants, they want to know that it's going to be taken care of, or they'd rather give it to somebody else who will. So we also, and likewise, have re-established a relationship with Walmart, and we're receiving some donated equipment from them. It's not a lot of money, but Walmart is a very supportive program and company. They have a lot of small grants through local areas that they like to support their local communities, and their employees are allowed to apply for grants if they're doing any kind of public service, it's fire department or anything, and it's an amazing company. They do a lot for that, and they have these programs that are actually direct to, and we've benefited from that. So we're reestablishing that, and have already benefited from that. We have some donations from them that things that we'd ask for, and when they come available, if they happen to have it, they shoot it our way. Small other grants we're looking at now, firehouse subs, we're pursuing that. I wanted to say also to some of the organizational aspects, I know I was going to jump around a little bit, this is out of order. We have done a lot to organize ourselves and catch up and do things we've not done. One of the things we need to do is probably reestablish some of the background checks. And the reason I want to manage that is because we've got to go back and check on things that I don't know if it's ever been checked before, make sure that it has been checked. And it's a routine thing. I think ACCG is really encouraging us to do that. But one of the reasons I want to mention that is because in doing this, Brent has been very supportive with the paperwork that I need, creating new forms, whatever. And so I just wanted to say thank you to Brent for that, because when I do have a need like that, he's always very supportive and very quick to help.
Is this background employees?
Yes, ma'am. We have about 150 volunteers.
Oh, volunteers, okay.
And employees, about another 50 employees. And it really is something that needs to be done on a routine basis, rather than we hired somebody 30 years ago and we're assuming they still have a good record or they're not a liability. And so it's not something I think we need to do a lot, maybe not every year, but maybe every other year, something like that, to make sure that that we're doing housekeeping, making sure that we have a clean house. So, but that's something that we're about to start. Thanks to Brian, he's assisted us with that.
I think that is very important, because we have had a reputation in the past, I'm not talking about just EMS, I'm talking about other departments, of hiring people who did not have the best background, and they left our surrounding areas and they came here because they could. So we definitely need to make sure that is.
So we're doing that background.
As far as new people, and you're talking about going back and just keeping it up to date over
Every couple of
time.
years, we're just going to go back. And in fact, one of the reasons it makes this easy is because we have a newer form that's, as long as you're affiliated with the department, it's indefinite. In other words, you can sign this and saying that I'm here, as long as I am here.
You can do that.
Right, and we keep that on file so we can pull it. So we don't have to go chase everybody down for signatures and a new, authorization to do that. So that's been indispensable as far as Bryn's help there. It's great. And I think it'll help protect us in the county and each other, the employees and the firefighters and the EMS personnel or anybody else in the county that we serve. So
I've seen people that lost their driver's license and they didn't want to tell anybody. So those checks are very important to be sure that you going forward from liability.
We have had that here though. Repeat that, we have not had that here yet.
I know.
Same in the past, I had that here, yes.
Not here.
Okay.
But even if they sign it in the beginning, I do think that we need to notify them that they are up at that point for that background check, because that not only gives those individuals an opportunity to open up to you as their department head and say, well, look, you got to find this.
Sure.
And gives them that, so it's not you bringing them in and talking to them and saying, here's what we found by.
Absolutely. Let's see. Going through my list, make sure I haven't missed anything, retention around people. I just want to brag on our department. I think, you kind of alluded to it. We've had drama in the past. We've had some dirty laundry aired, but I want to brag on our department. Fire and EMS has come a long way. I think the morale is very strong. The people are very dedicated, and we were talking a minute ago about retention, and I'm going through my mind and thinking about it, and especially as we go forward with fire district tax and hire and implement a new staff and crew, what we're going to do to retain these people. And we're trying to build a strong sense of community and a kinship in our ranks, because Meriwether County will never be able to afford some of the pay scales that our neighbors have. We may not be able to give all the perks, but I think we have other things we can offer that are going to make people want to be here, and it's a sense of home and dedication. We have so many people now that are stepping up to do things that need to be done, whether it's, inventorying items that, haven't been inventoried, or reorganizing. And we have people, volunteers who've already been volunteering, and we have full-timers who are working on their time off, coming in on their days off, doing things just because they want to see it get done. And I just want to take this opportunity to brag on those people and our employees, our staff, because they're really going above and beyond. I mean, they are really stepping out and doing things, because most people, they won't give an extra 5 minutes. When the clock turns 5, they're gone. But we have people doing a lot as far as giving extra, so.
Madam Chair, I want to comment on that. Once again, thank you for bringing that out. It's important, and as you stated, we may not be able to pay those salaries in comparison to Coweta and others, but a lot of people take a job for a lot of different reasons. Pay tends to be the most thing, but also the working environment is definitely a plus. And so as we move forward, I would like to see the county embrace, along with the school board through the Partners in Education, some type of program where we can start reaching out in the high schools, in the middle schools, as a career, so that our future youth in our county can look at this as a potential career opportunity. So whatever that can look like, maybe we can start doing that. I attend some of the Partners in Education meetings, and they've got a lot of good things going on, but that's another avenue to start building, because from my understanding, we do have a very senior group. And mature, Bill, let me just rephrase that term, in our volunteer departments. So, if we can start thinking on that line, how we can potentially look at our youth and, saying, when you graduate from high school, or you're going to go off to college or to a technical school, here's an opportunity career-wise, and then share with them all the different things that you can do in your department, from a more forensic part of that as well.
That's exactly right. We've got a lot of people who did this because it was a volunteer, because it was a hobby and it was fun. Since, hey, I want to be on a fire truck since it's tall. I've seen a lot of people in our Warm Springs department go on to become full-time firefighters, whether it was Manchester or elsewhere. A lot of them, in fact, one man individually heard about fire district tax, started asking questions, and I said, well, it's just amazing to see what these people are doing, because it's where we're going to have to be. These are going to have to be young, strong people to replace, these ones that can't go anymore. This guy's young, but had a little weight on him, and within a year he lost 60 pounds, hoping for fire district tax to come along and get a job. Well, as fate would have it, Manchester sought to take him away from us. So they beat us to the punch. But it was really exciting to see this guy work hard, sacrifice, and be rewarded. And now he's a full-time firefighter in Manchester. So he's a local guy. He's working in his local community, and it's just a cool thing. We do, in some of the departments, have kind of what I guess you would call an explorer program. We have junior firefighters.
Junior firefighters?
Yes, ma'am, where we allow people who are not old enough to be firefighters come in and train with us and hang out with us. It's a little bit of a challenge, because sometimes those younger people like to go when they shouldn't go, or do things they shouldn't do. But it is a cool thing because some of those people, younger than 18 or even the 20, 25 years old, when they come in, they have the enthusiasm that we used to have. And it reinvigorates most everybody that's there. We kind of feed off that. I guess you could say we use them. But it's pretty cool to see those guys come in, and young ladies too sometimes. One thing I did want to respond to your comment a minute ago, and I don't know that I've ever mentioned this, but we did meet with, I think it was Tom Smith from over in the Grange at the West Georgia Tech. And they have a program that they're wanting to establish here in Meriwether County that is kind of the same situation where they have I can't remember the name of the program, but there was actually somebody that came out of Atlanta, and Tom came over and we sat and talked about what we can do and what Meriwether County do to help be a sponsor of this program along with them to start giving high school students an alternate path. And it's kind of like some of the programs that they've done, that they have now, where you can get a certificate or have some sort of education the day you graduate high school and go straight into employment there. So they are looking at that. That is something in the works, and to be honest with you, I haven't followed up on that. I haven't heard back, but that is something that we did. I think we met with Tom, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago. So that's something that happened, and I think you're right. We need to continue to look for ways to do that. I guess the last thing is just I want a couple things to acknowledge the support from everybody that's been here. We've got a lot on our plate, but we've really been able to achieve a lot, and it's because of the people, our co-workers here, the other departments that we rely on. Skip is phenomenal. Tyrell has been huge. Brian, everybody that, it's amazing how many people, the admin staff here, Miss Beverly and Allison and Lori and Doris. I mean, it's just amazing what we're getting done. And every time we need something, we make a phone call request, and it's there, it's done. We couldn't survive without it. And the last thing, I know I'm surprised Mr. Bill hasn't got his phone out timing me. Last thing I want to say is, we've had a hard couple of years, and a lot of losses. And we've got another recent one. And PTSD is a big deal with us. Our people see a lot, they're exposed a lot, they suffer and they hurt. We've had a lot of losses within the fire department. In fact, just a couple of days ago, a baby has drowned. That is a grandchild of a firefighter that's recently joined us. We are concerned about our people that had to deal with that. There's some counseling needs that we're going to have to be addressing. But in general, it just seems like last year and a half, 2 years, we've suffered through a lot of that. And I just want everybody to kind of remember that and keep us in your prayers, because our people are, we're blessed, but there are some of us that are suffering. A lot of losses, a lot of life loss, family members, things like that. So if y'all will, please remember that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What are we doing for those PTSD situations?
You know, I fear not enough. I've been in contact with actually Chris Tucker, who's left, gone to Oregon. He's actually pursuing perhaps a new career or a branch of a career into that, a ministry type career into that. He has a phenomenal background because of his military background and what he's done in fire EMS that gives him a unique perspective to be able to relate and address things like that. We have some things locally that were actually initiated, I think, going back to everybody that was here before me. I would imagine Johnny and Jason Ritter, and we have local priests, pastors, preachers, what do you want to call them, that will help and counsel. There are a couple of people I know locally that we are using with now. Our EAP program, I think, is being used a little bit now. You know, it's a brand new program, but I think we've got a few people starting to reach out for that. In fact, one concerning this last incident, it's using an EAP. Now, I don't know if it's our EAP. They also work for a different county and have an EAP there. They may be going through that one. But I fear we have underestimated the impact. Yes, exactly. And I don't know that we're going to be able to do enough. But I promise you, we are taking it very seriously and looking at everything we can do. The local people have been great, but I fear some of these things may take a higher level of care for some of them. And time heals, but it's kind of funny. The people you think you might worry about, the younger, I'm not going to say the more weak, but maybe the frail, they seem to be less affected. It's the people who have been here for 20 or 30 years that are seasoned, that are strong, but they've been doing it for so long and they've seen it so often that they seem to be the ones that have the hardest time with it. I guess maybe a lot of us, that are in denial about, the Superman cape we have on and those type of things, but it is reaching in and touching us. We know that there's an issue. So.
The reason I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I do have a friend of mine that owns a company that she is a nurse practitioner. She has about 13 nurse practitioners that work for her. And all of those nurse practitioners are specialized in psychiatry. I'm just going to reach out to her and see if there is anything within reasonable financial means that she could do to provide some type of service. And she's out of Stockbridge to people in the county that may need things like that. And I will check with her this weekend. She's really good at what she does, and she does handle a lot of PTSD situations. So let me talk to her and see what we can do. Me, you, there in bed, sit down, talk about it. I'll even bring her in if she's interested in doing something like that, and we'll see if we can do something that will get them to where they need to be.
I think that's an excellent idea, and I think we're going to have more than one or two plans of attack, because I think with the such a dynamic situation, the different personalities involved, I don't think there's going to be one approach that's going to solve this problem. I don't know that we'll solve it. Maybe we can address it and help, but I don't know that we'll solve it. But I think every different aspect that we come up with, every different approach, is probably a good tool to have in our kit.
And it really is a bad situation. I mean, I haven't seen to the extent that you guys have seen, but I've seen a lot of death and things in my profession too. And it does take a toll on someone. And not everybody's personality that you see on the outside is what they have on the inside.
Right.
And as men, we feel we need to hold everything in. That's exactly what we do instead of getting it out there, talking about it, and getting some of that release. And that's what you have to do in this situation. So if we can get something to where they can talk about what's bothering them and get it out there, it will help them tremendously to get past where they're at.
I agree. I think we're going to know in the years to come. I think it's going to receive more attention. I think people are going to be more willing to talk about it. I think a lot of people are in denial. And, I guess denial to some extent is okay, but I think people are going to start not embracing it, but acknowledging that there's an issue there that we can't just keep ignoring. Because I think for the most part, people kind of just tend to, you ask somebody how they're doing, they always say fine. And you have to twist their arm to really tell you sometimes how they're doing. And that's just normal everyday conversation. In these circumstances, it's, certainly the case. And I think everybody's Achilles heel is, the children, the small children. But one of the advantages that I do think we have here that's huge is its hometown, but part of the problem is we may be called to our family members or people we've known all our lives, and whether they're small children or not, I mean, it can really hit hard. So
we do have a employee assistance program, but it really is offered to our health care for full-time employees. In huge situation, we have a lot of volunteers and part-time employees, so Commissioner Drake is out here.
They get three visits. Once they call in, they can get 3 free visits, and then after that, if there's something they need more, then that comes from their insurance. But the county does pay a company called Aspire. We started that a little over a year ago. We're in our 2nd year with that. It used to be called the EAP group. It was called EAP, but now it's called Aspire. And we do have a lot of people that have started using that. We try, when people are hired, we try to tell them about it, but I wonder if some of them kind of forget along the line. That particular program helps with more than just the issues like what they're having. They can help financial issues, marital issues, whatever they've got, they can help with that. Even help you write a will, get a will written, and get dog care and elderly care. So
these volunteers,
they're not included.
Have other jobs.
Yeah, they're not included in this.
So what we need to find out in those situations through their regular job, do they have some type of insurance that will help to cover those services before we do offer them? And of course we should, but because they are volunteers and have those other jobs with insurances, we need to ask them, does your insurance cover this for you? And if if so, they can get the help through that.
Some do. I think what we'll find in the near future, kind of like with the new cancer policy for firefighters. You know, in the old days, if I got cancer, it was my fault. The state has acknowledged that because of the statistics that cancer and firefighting go hand in hand, and now there's a mandated insurance. It is the fire department's responsibility now to take care of the firefighters. The one thing about the PTSD and some of those other things, I think it'll follow suit like that as well. It's not the case now, but you know, you can go through an EAP program, but I think the stress that's happening basically, even though you're volunteer, you are on the job, you are covered by workman's comp. And I think eventually, like I said, it's not the case now, but I think eventually it's going to be a workman's comp issue, probably more than anything. Well, so, and you know, so there might be other needs for us to step up and try to address that, because it's going to affect us no matter which way we look at it, how we turn. So, Madam Chair.
I just got one question and comment. What is our relationship with Warm Springs Medical Center now? How is it? Like, that may be more.
It's great.
Yeah, okay. I haven't heard anything in a while. That's why I was wondering. But
It's, you know what, we've been very happy with that. We, early last year, we sat down as a group and we kind of brainstormed and thought about how we need to do things, how we need to conduct ourselves and get along, because, you know, at one time we had basically severed our relationship with them as far as transporting and doing other things. We didn't feel like that was the right way to go. And it was kind of ironic timing, because we had a desire to reestablish a service with them. Well, about the same time, I think the contract that they had at the time with Community had expired, and they gave us a phone call and said, hey, we'd like to talk to you. So we kind of stepped in there, looked like we were saving the day, but really we were looking to establish that anyway, so it was kind of mutual. One of the things, though, in the past we've had problems with is we can get abused with some calls that we really don't need to be transporting. We're supposed to be an emergency service, and if it's not an emergency, we need to let some other service try to take care of that, because we don't need to take our service away from our county and our citizens for something that's not really needing the service that we provide. So in the past, there's been a lot of abuse, but with the new people, and we've been meeting with them quarterly. We started out every month, and we've been meeting with them quarterly now. And I can't be happier with the way this is working out, because there used to be a lot of confusion about what we would take and where we would take it, and should we accept this or deny it. And we kind of went out on a limb and said, listen, we're going to trust you guys to not abuse us. We're going to let you call us. If you call us, we're going to come. If it's a stump toe, we'll carry it. We'll talk about it after the fact. We won't waste time arguing about it in the middle of this decision. We're not going to make 911 go through the agony of saying, should we dispatch somebody or not? We're going to trust you. And so we give them feedback now quarterly to say, hey, this is working out pretty good. And so far we hadn't had a complaint. We haven't had to worry about that. They've been very respectful of our service. They have not abused us. They do not put calls on us that we shouldn't have. You know, in a month's time, there might be a call or two that we probably shouldn't have taken. Our viewpoint is that can be such a broad gray area and not just a fine line. We'd rather err on the side of caution, take the call, and then worry about it later. And we were fearful that we might be getting back into a situation that could have hurt us and abused us, keep us stretched so thin that we can't serve our citizens. But it's not been the case. It's been a very good relationship. So we're very pleased with it.
And the comment I wanted to make, in years past, they've been such a, I guess one of the calls I got was about using the air ambulance so much. Mm-hmm. And obviously that must have diminished some, because I do not get this. I mean, I know they come in need, but I think we must be taking care of more of those situations and getting the patients where they need to go, because I don't know about any of the others, but I have just not had the calls and concerns that we were maybe using it when we didn't necessarily need to.
You know, that's a big deal, and I think those services are awesome, because what they can do now, above and beyond what we can do in the time frame that they can do it, is huge. But there are certain circumstances where, like in the south end of the county, we can probably be at a trauma center in Columbus just as quick as they can, kind of by the time they fly in, the on-site time and all that. So it depends on where you are and what we're doing. One of the advantages of those services now is they're carrying blood, which we don't. So that's a big deal if you have a hypovolemic problem where somebody's losing blood or whatever. But The thing that hurt my feelings, in fact, one of the reasons we want to reestablish transport with Warm Springs is I've watched them when nobody would transport their patients out, they call a helicopter. A person that I knew that we've been to visit several times had an issue that didn't warrant that, but they received a very large bill because they just needed a transfer, a small, inexpensive transfer. Some of the cost on some of these flights now, the highest one I've heard of was around $51,000. It's astronomical. And I think to put our citizens in a situation where they have to pay that kind of bill when it's not necessary, it's just negligent on our part. And I'm glad that we're doing better with the transfer rates as far as that goes. I think we are doing better. I think as far as just overall use of the air ambulances, we don't abuse them. I think we use them when they needed to. I think we did have, in the past, I'll just admit, some circumstances where it was easier to put somebody on a helicopter so I don't have to carry him. I don't have to do paperwork. But I think we don't have that problem anymore. And I think for the most part, it's used very efficiently. So I'm glad to hear that. I wasn't sure.
I haven't had a call in probably a year or more
Really?
too about it, so I knew it must be better. And then just seeing them, of course, being in Warm Springs so much, you see them when they're landing
Right.
around in that area. But I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad to hear that feedback. I wasn't sure.
Don't leave yet. I have a couple. When you were saying you're doing better with the inventory, we're talking about more ambulances, things like that, right?
Everything.
So what are we using to make sure that things don't walk away? Is it just stored on shelves and we're counting it there? Is there a check-off list that we're doing to remove it? Would it be better off if we looked into some type of Pixis system to put the inventory in so that it is accountable and it doesn't self-count?
You know, and I don't mean to be critical. I think, we've not been a complicated organization in years past, and it was easy to kind of keep track. Probably shouldn't, I'm not very politically savvy, I probably shouldn't say this. Somebody told me once after we made mistakes here that a new administrator came in years ago, and I remember that person telling me that they could make the same mistakes, that no new checks and balances had been put in place. And as a citizen, talking with them at the time, this is many years ago, it frustrated me. And that's why I want to brag on Theron and what's going on here. Because my focus turned from that person at that point to the management of the county, because that to me was the breakdown. We weren't learning from our mistakes. We have a lot of inventory control as far as like the drug box is watched very closely. That's a big ticket item. We've had problems with that in the past. We watch very carefully how it's controlled and how it's managed, how it's recorded, and there is feedback. There are systems of checks and balances in place to make sure that if something goes missing or is not used appropriately, it's caught. We're doing things that we've never done before as far as tracking inventory of the volunteers, because if they move out of state, we know that they've got $3,000 worth of turnout gear or radio that we need to chase them down and try to get that back. And sometimes it's a challenge, but a lot of this, to be quite honest with you, and it'll get better, especially as we move forward with our district tax and we have more personnel to help us do this. But a lot of these things just slip through the cracks because we just didn't have the wherewithal to track and manage and stay on top of it. So the software, ImageTrend has been huge as far as that goes, because it's a very complicated software, but what's beautiful about it is we can write our own programs within it. We can pull up our own reports. We can create those. Now, it's more work up front to get that done, but once we do that, we tailor it to our specific needs.
Now, Chief Hans, this is the ImageTrend you're talking about? Okay.
ImageTrend was an EMS management software, and this is some assumption on my part, so I'll probably embarrass myself. But what I'm understanding is a couple of people in South Georgia decided, well, let's try to apply this to our fire department, because we need something like this to help us organize our fire department. Not long after that, the state got a hold of it, and that's what they started supplying to everybody. And because we didn't have those tools before. I mean, some of us would use Firehouse or other softwares like that, but it was pretty expensive. It didn't really provide a lot. It was hard to learn. But ImageTrend is a end-all be-all for EMS, fire. It can help us do anything we want to.
Will it actually help you position you to reorder when you use equipment or stuff that you've got? Okay.
The program is basically a large database, and we need to write, or we can actually borrow, we can call some neighboring organization that uses it and say, have you ever written a report or program to do this? And we can actually download that program from them install it in our industry and do that. It's very flexible, very powerful with what you can do. So, any other questions? Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, who's,
Keith, did you have anything you wanted to
I
add?
say, Keith, did you have anything to? It's been very informative, though. I know it's taken some time, but it is very informative. All right, who's?
Can I just recognize Chief Bonds as now taking over the slot of the long-winded department head?
Are you passing the torch, Humphrey?
Most of the time, you don't say anything, though. Joey, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's starting to feel like waiting to wait to go to the dentist office.
I'm a little jittery myself this morning. Not from coffee, but when I was coming in this morning through Warm Springs, a lady decides to run the stop sign at 40 miles an hour. Never stopped. I don't know how we didn't hit. I swear her car went through my car, but we didn't hit. And all I saw was, as she kept going, so I was almost 17,001 on the calls. But somehow or another, and of course she kept going. The car behind me, you know, it was anyway.
Glad you're okay.
I wish I had a picture of it, because honestly I do not know how we did not collide. I got out and looked and there was nothing, so thank God for that. I don't have a lot of papers. What I wanted to do was just kind of give you an update. Of course, this is our busiest time of the year. Everything that we do the entire year culminates around a 3 or 4 month period, beginning around May through August. The digest preparation. Most people, I think, don't realize that the commissioners and the school board and the city councils don't just arbitrarily come up with values and set taxes. The state actually has to give us permission to collect taxes. Every year we have to submit a digest. It's very specific. We have to meet a specific set of criteria. The state looks at our sales ratios, which by the way, we got those in for 2016 and it was 39.81, which is almost spot on perfect. They look at exemptions, whether or not homestead exemptions, things like that are being given properly and applied properly to senior citizens, to disabled vets. There's a multitude of things that we have to comply with, and until or unless we comply with those, we're not given permission to collect taxes. And when that happens, the school board doesn't have money, the county doesn't have money, and the cities don't have money. The state has been in earlier. The auditors came in to do our sales ratio. Like I said, that was good. They came in and audited our FLPA exemptions, which are the forest land protection discounts for timber companies. What a lot of people don't know is that is an exemption, but we are reimbursed up to 3% of that exemption by the state. But they do come in and audit your records to make sure there again that those are being, the applications are being taken correctly and audited correctly. And whether or not we're getting those checks, I don't know. But they do come in now to audit that to make sure that you're complying with it, because if you don't, they don't issue the money. Where we're at now, of course, the assessment notices went out on June 9th. The deadline is, I think, July 24th. It ran out on a Sunday, but anytime something like that runs out on the weekend, you have to give people to the next business day, so that extended it one day forward. The appeal count is actually fairly low, knock on wood, and most of those have been resolved or in the process of being resolved. We're in the middle of the digest preparation. That takes a several-week process of working with the tax commissioner's office and the vendors who prepare the consolidation reports, and then of course who actually send out the bills. Once I have that, then the state approves the digest, and we parse out the information to the city so that they can begin their process of setting their millage rates and beginning their tax levies. The GIS is kind of ongoing, although right now it's kind of on the back burner because we're short-staffed, and the digest and things like that have to take priority for everybody's case. And that is basically where we're at this point in time. Our digest is good, our sales ratios are good. The things that the state looks at in addition to that, like our coefficient of dispersion and our price-related differential, are other things that they use to determine how well you're classifying and pricing parcels. That is beginning to indicate that we will need to start looking at some type of a reevaluation in the next few years. How we choose to go about that, will be something that'll have to be discussed. We don't have the staff to do it in-house or the training. I know most counties, and including this county in the past, have contracted that out because it's a very involved 12 to 18 month process. So that's something that will probably have to be looked at in the next 2 or 3 years. Right now we're okay, but it will have to come about. And the thing about something like that is it typically takes about a year to prepare for it before you even start it. So that is something out there in the near future to discuss. But other than that, we're on schedule, and I don't foresee any issues with the digest or getting it to the state by September 1st, which is the deadline. The old deadline was August 1st. But what the state found was that 82% of the counties in general were not meeting that August 1st deadline and were having to file for extensions. So they just bumped it a month and gave everybody an extra 30 days. But I don't see any problem with us meeting that deadline at this point. And I'm open for questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do I get the award for the shortest?
We think so.
All right. Animal shelter, Tyrell. Ron, I forgot to see you over in the corner too, so.
Well, just wanted to let everybody know for the month of June, we've done 20 adoption for adult dogs, 10 puppies adopted. We've had 8 adult dogs returned to their owner and microchipped. We've had 3 adult cats, 5 kittens, all adopted out in the month of June. From what I've been looking at, they've been averaging 5 to 7 adoptions per month. So we've more than tripled that just in a month's time. We're looking at building a new cat room in the front office for a display area to have cats up there rolling around, climbing on shelves and stuff for people to see, because once they see them, they're going to have them. We've repainted the front office. We've made it nice and bright in there. When you walk in, it's not so gloomy. We've moved the vet room to the very back and got a grooming station set up back there with it. So now we can groom and vet all the animals right back there to get them out, make them more presentable for the public so that they'll get adopted more. I've talked to Mr. Theron. We're going to do a movie night, Screen on the Green, August 12th at the shelter. We're going to have a big movie screen set up out there beside the shelter. Not sure yet what movie we're going to show. We're going to sell popcorn, snow cones. It's going to be free admission to see the movie. Sell the snow cones and popcorn as a fundraiser for the shelter. And then also looking at doing another one in October when it's a little cooler. Maybe more people will come to that one. Just trying to do different things to get the name out there to people, get people coming in, looking, seeing what we have. We've also got 28 animals going out on a transport Thursday night, going to Ohio. We're going to lose our mascot, Brent. Shiloh's going to Ohio Thursday night. We are also going to do a community day sometime in August at the shelter. I've got a citizen who has offered to sponsor a food vending truck to come out, sell hamburgers, hot dogs, drinks, all that. He's going to pay for the vending truck to come out of his own pocket. Everything they sell will go back to the shelter as a donation to the shelter. We're going to do it sometime in August. We haven't decided yet. I've also talked to a organization called Fix Georgia Pets, working on getting a $50,000 grant to the shelter to help do spay and neutering for low-income areas in the county. We're also looking at doing another grant for about 3 rabies clinics at the shelter in the next year.
3 a year, and that'll all be paid for through the grant. He's also going to work on another grant for us to have stray cats brought in, spay and neutered and stuff, and then that way it cuts down on population of all the cats running around, not so many kittens and stuff. So altogether with this one group I'm talking to, we're looking at about $200,000 in grants for the shelter. Also talking to PetSmart Charities about another grant. They have a $10,000 grant that I applied for to try to get. Best Friends is another animal organization, talking to them on some grants they have. They're helping me get applied for them and see if we can get some of them. Mr. Bill gave us the okay yesterday to go ahead and get the filtration system put on the well, get rid of some of that rust and everything in the water, make the water a little safer for everybody, and get rid of some of the brown that it's leaving on the walls and stuff.
We got it right.
Like I said, we've done a lot of painting over there, a lot of cleaning up. Grass is getting cut every week. Thanks to the sheriff's department, we've got an inmate there every day now to help get everything taken care of, get everything cleaned up like it needs to be. Besides that, and we're looking at doing more off-site adoptions. We're going to come out and do one at your feed store, I hope, in the next couple of weeks. Okay. Besides that, I just ask everybody, tell everybody you know, come out, check us out, look at the changes that we've made. As y'all see, we've got new uniform shirts. We're not walking around with the sheriff's star on no more. So that made a few people happy. But everybody just come out and check us out and look at all the differences in everything and how much we've changed things out there.
Madam Chair, I want to say thank you for all the great work you've done in this short period of time. I've been hearing some very positive things from your department. And I'm also glad everybody knows I'm always pushing grants and alternate ways to bring revenue into the county. There is another grant, and I'll make sure I pass it on to Mr. Gay, because I send him all the grants that come to me all the time. But there is a grant that's out there to put together a dog park.
That was another thought that I had back in that back area. I just wanted to get some of the other stuff done. Then
But it's an obstacle park. It's for the dogs so they can do their exercise, but the grant, but it's not only will it assist the dogs, but it also assists the owners. So it's an obstacle grant. I mean, it's, and I thought if we're able to apply for that, and it also gives you an opportunity to show the dogs when they're walking and things of that nature. So this is another good program. So there are a lot of different programs out there in different ways to bring in money.
Yes,
and then there's another, there's food trucks, not food trucks, there are dog trucks that come on site to sell dog food.
Yes, ma'am.
To bathe your dog and things of that nature. So I'll make sure I pass that information on to you.
I appreciate it.
So that they like to come out and host events as well. So it's a very interactive type of thing.
And that's one of the things I want to get going with the community day, is getting it to where I have different vets and different animal organizations that come out and speak to people and bring things out and stuff like that. And you were talking about the dog park back in the back area behind the fence. Since all that's just sitting there not being used, that's one of the things I wanted to look at later, was doing like some trails for walking and obstacles and stuff like that for the animals.
I'll make sure I pass that information on to Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle mentioned the use of the inmate. Michelle's credentials allow us to be able to allow the sheriff's office to be able to work with us on that, because he was a trained correctional officer, certified correctional officer. And we also got a truckload of free food this week too.
I was going to say that we've gotten twice now. We've gotten a truckload of free food. It's coming from Coweta County's helping us out with that. They get a lot in there.
It's actually just a person in Coweta.
Yes. Somebody from Coweta County, and he's
a good guy.
About once a month he's helping us out with a lot of dog food, and that's another one of the ones that we're working on, is Purina getting on a grant with them to get dog food every 2 months. We get dog food from them. So.
Is this the location right in Belleville?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. How else coming on?
Good morning. First off, I just want to talk about this Facebook issue. I know everybody knows about it, but I'm just here to tell y'all right now that my guys, they take pride in their work. They do what they have to do, and you know, a lot of people they see stuff like, you know, they really don't know what they're talking about. But anyways,
let me just stop you right there. Mr. Gay summed it up best. Social media definitely has its positives.
Right.
But the negative is it gives people a platform to say whatever they want and not be held accountable.
yes,
I mean, that post has taken a life of its own, and as of this morning, which is almost a week later, it is still going strong. And it's not just this, it's that they're hammering the state, the cities, and us as well. But I'm
Yes.
sorry. Like I said, it's kept me up. I can assure you.
I appreciate that. But,
Because folks started calling after they started seeing the post.
yes, ma'am.
As well, but I feel for you.
Well, I mean, as far as road priority, that's my key right there. The priority of the roads. Every time we get a call out, I make it my personal issue to go out just look at the roads and decide what personnel I need to send out there. And I mean, I try to prioritize the work order that comes in. I mean, if we have a road issue right here, it's not, you know, much. I'll put this off until I can take care of this that's causing real damage. But anyways, you know, I was behind a garbage truck a couple of weeks ago down on JW down the road. It just rained and we just had graded that road, and I'm talking about 4 to 5 inches of ruts in there that they was putting in. I mean, it really defeated the purpose. We can't do anything about the garbage trucks, but the log trucks we can. You know, we're just garbage trucks are the main one, and the log trucks are next. I mean, if we can do something about these log trucks, especially when it's raining, I mean, it's just actually just messing the roads up, and there goes our gravel bill. You know, we got to send more employees back out there to rescrape the road, and I hate going to a job twice, you know. But anyways,
I think Mr. Gay just gave us an email. How much have we spent in gravel and
$23,000 in the last 12 months. That equates, if we pay $400 a load for gravel,
yes, sir.
that equates to about 307 loads of gravel. And that is a lot of gravel. And then we spent $6,300 on pipe, another $5,300 on signs. So, you know, it's a lot of work out there. Big county. We also spent $1 million on resurfacing. We're going to turn around and spend probably, you know, $80,000 on striping. We got another program next year from LeBig. That's going to be another $1 million. But people don't understand, $1 million does about 12 miles. 2 years ago, $1 million was only doing about 6 miles. So you guys have done a really good job of trying to stretch those dollars. And, you know, in our road complaints, up until the social media kickoff, really, you know, had gone down. And I've talked to several people that were on the social media, and one lady was complaining about her road because we had come out and had scraped the edge of it. Well, yes, we did. And I said, the reason we did is we're about to resurface it. So all of a sudden, the whole meeting changes, and she's yelling at people in the background, guess what? They're fixing to, you know, pay our road. And then all of a sudden, we're the best friend. And I said, well, you know, really, it would behoove you to,
social media that
you know,
gets the wrong
call
way.
and find out before, you know, people just complain, because you need the entire story. And I talked to 2 or 3 that were on there, and they explained everything. And after they found out the correct information, they're fine. But it's
they don't
that
they don't try to find out the correct information. They'd rather bash what's been. I mean, and my comment was, it's not like we're sitting around every day saying, oh, let's don't work on roads and bridges today.
Exactly.
Or let's don't work on John Doe's road. I mean, we're out there every single day. And the money back, I mean, shows what we're spending out there.
that's right.
I'm going to write a report for the board, and I will get it to the newspaper, and I'll also put it on the, you know, Facebook. That will kind of explain the process of what we're doing, because Shirley, I think, brought up an issue with the type of paving we're doing. People will complain and say, oh, this road's rough, this road's this, before we even finish it. And, you know, so we'll cover all of that. I'll try to have that for you guys by the end of the week, and we'll send it send it out to everybody. So at least the information is available if they're
If
interested.
they really
knowing
want it,
the
that's
facts.
right. That's another thing, I want the correct information too.
Madam Chair, and I want to comment too, like you said, social media can be a plus and it can be a negative. And there's a certain amount of accountability to me as far as the citizens. It doesn't take a lot to complain. It takes nothing to complain. But it really does take a lot when a community come together and look at solutions. And so I think this board has done a great job addressing some of the conditions in public works. We've done a great job of identifying the equipment that's needed. We provided. So maybe we just need to work on PR and kind of getting people to understand the dynamics of what we're doing. As you stated, we're not avoiding not to take care of roads. But then on the other hand, one of my concern is getting back to the loggers. So I do want to suggest to this board, maybe we have a meeting with our loggers again. We know that's a big income, hopefully, for the county. But I was on Gold Mine Road several times in the past couple of weeks. We've had some loggers there. Once again, no gravel when they're coming out. The road was very muddy. And I don't know what we need to put in place to hold people accountable. But the other thing that I was concerned about, and I mentioned this to Mr. Gay, is they've clear cut, everything. But they've left big stumps right there on, the right-of-way? So the edges, and so even if I noticed this car, and they were speeding, and they kind of lost control, but they were able to stir it back in. If they had not, when they went over, their car could have hit one of those big stumps. The stump was very high. So once again, I think if we have more dialogue, and then whatever we choose to do, we need to be consistent for every company that comes into the county and do logging. As we went on Barron Road, they didn't put gravel. Instead of putting gravel, they just took the tree and laid it on the road. And so Gold Mine is getting ready to be resurfaced. We need to know how long they're going to be out there logging. Because if we're going to spend this kind of money, $1 million on resurfacing roads, and this is not a negative thing about our loggers, but we've got to come up with a system where we know how long they're going to be out there. Because you all cut back to start resurfacing in the next week or so. Right. If they're still logging while we're resurfacing the road, that is not going to be good. And that's an expense that, like you said, you and your people don't want to go back out on a job 2 and 3 times. Exactly. So there definitely needs to have some more discussion in this. So what that looks like, whether it's enforcing what we already have in place or putting something in place that will be better, for the county, because this is costing us.
Well, Mitchell Road was just resurfaced in our last batch, and they've been logging out there, it seems like forever. Well, it's mud and stuff and all there, but their route out, they had completely, Mr. Gay knows and Tyrone, they had completely destroyed another road connected to it. But fortunately, somebody out there did call the sheriff's office to come out, and in turn, the deputy called DOT. And they came and shut their trucks down, 4 of them, for being overweight. And that's one of the very things our complaints were with the loggers before. These trucks were overloaded. Our roads can't handle what they're doing, but they don't think they're ever overloaded. But obviously these 4 weren't. I don't know how long they were shut down or whatever, but at least hopefully got somebody's attention.
They were operating the other day, rather than I went out and looking at it. We have a plan. We're meeting this afternoon, and Tyrell and I are going to be meeting, because I've got Allison sitting up Tad. We've got a plan. We need to do more with code enforcement, and we have some new personnel that's transferred over to the zone that I mentioned in just a few minutes. One of that is going to be better tracking. Rhonda, I talked about it the day we rode, I guess it was Friday. And we're going to do a better job of tracking. We're going to have every location posted. We're going to be sure they have proper drainage and spot in place, the permit posted. We also want to have it where the gravel bin is there to knock as much of the dirt off as we can. But we also want to have it turn around and have it, a copy of the permits presented back to the tax assessor's office where they can track the harvesting that's
And that should be
make
done.
sure that we get, reimbursed.
The thing about it, Tyrell and his employees then are having to go and, take care of these issues, and then they can't do the daily stuff they're supposed to be doing because they're out putting out fires of the problems that are created.
Well, one of the things that the companies do not want is to be shut down and issued a stop work order. They want to go and get in and get out. And if we write them a citation, they still go and
They just pay.
keep on. They just pay it or keep on, and you can't get them in court. So Ron and I have talked about it. We want to look at it further. I'd like to have it where Tyrell and maybe his assistant can be certified, and we want to go through that and get that done. And they can then turn around and issue a stop work order. So Tyrell's out there, if he sees a logger that's tearing up the road, he can say, here's your stop work order. You have to cease operations until you correct problems that are there. And that may simply be mud in the road or whatever thing, a permit. And I think that'll get everybody's attention. And once they understand what they've got to do, they'll do that. It's not hard. They know they're supposed to be doing it now. It's just a matter of
They get by with what they can.
So before we start resurfacing, why can't we look at the area that we're going to resurface and see if we feel there may be a possibility of harvesting something in that area? And if so, if we know who owns it or what have you, ask them what their plan is in harvesting those trees, and then let's base our resurfacing around that. If they say, no, it's not ready, we got 6 years out before we do it, then we're okay on that road to do it. So I wouldn't want them to do it and then they come in and start 6 months later and just totally destroy the road.
Well, see, the road that they're harvesting on now was what we did last year. And it's, very honest, it's held up very well. They've broken a little bit of the edge off where they go over and off the right of way, and we're going to make them repair that. But the road held up. I was really amazed at how well it did hold up.
I think it was mostly mud and stuff they were bringing out there was the real issue.
But the other road they got on was, the asphalt's about this thick. It's a soil base. There was a whole lane that was disintegrated from that road. We're going back out and look at that here this week.
I bet you and I know a pretty powerful mutual person that will be visiting you in a couple of months. And you can probably ask what can be done.
Yes.
They could probably guide us very quickly in what needs to be done.
I think exactly right. And what we need to do is we need to be sure that Rod's office has a copy of our planned payment schedule. Where if someone comes in and they say, well, we're going to permit to harvest on that, you say, wait a minute. Because the trouble that you have in the most potential damage is going to, if we resurface this week and they come out the next week, because it won't be fully packed in, the tar will be somewhat still soft, and if they move and make that turn, they're going to run out the road. After it's been there for a year or so, it should be fine. But we just need to be sure that Rod knows where the road is going to be resurfaced. And if someone comes in for a timber permit, we say you can't issue that right. But yes, we need to ask that person. Yeah, so we'll get some good direction with that.
Sorry, Tyrell.
That's okay.
Taking all your time.
I'm fine. But anyways, I appreciate you going over that with. But I just want to go over my turnover at Public Works. We really don't have a big turnover. I think we lost maybe 2 employees since then, but that was for the best. I mean, the last guy who left, we got a great guy in his place. We got a diesel mechanic certified, and so he's working out just perfect. And I just want to thank Mr. Bill for helping me out with that. And our special projects, we have like 2 or 3 projects that's fixing to go on, but it won't interfere in our regular routine road maintenance. We got a guy really set out for that, Barry Lucas. He's real great on these special projects. And he's spending more time down here with us now than he is at the water authority. And he's actually doing a great job. I really appreciate that. But as far as training on our new motor graders, we actually got that training for free. Caterpillar brought a simulator down here and let it stay almost a month. And all the motor grader operators they got on it just got the feel of the new motor grader. And guys are actually doing a great job on these motorways. You know, we want to thank you guys for all the equipment. The road patcher is coming on with 10 and Nelson, one of our main road that needs it, but I know it's fixing to get resurfaced, and we are actually out there this morning doing some more patching on Valley Road. But I just want to thank everybody for the equipment, and it's really coming in handy, and we definitely need it. But for us in the summer and springtime, I know I always come to you guys about employees, but that's when I need 15 more employees. But we're doing what we need to do. You know, this wintertime is slow, but we just hired 2 more part-time. They're working out great. Guys actually on the bush hogs, and they didn't need any training. The job they came from, they already had the training, so that came, real good. But other than that, I got a letter from the EPD the other day. We was inspected from old Durant landfill. Only thing we got hit on was the grass, some brushes needed cutting. The guys, they was out all last week doing all of that, and I think we just got one more erosion problem. We're gonna go out next week to fix it, and we'll be good. They gave us 30 days to go over all of that, so we'll be good when they come back. Other than that, everything's going pretty good. I definitely appreciate it. You guys gave
One other
us.
question. How is you had came to us earlier and explained that you had put the county in 2 groups,
Yes, ma'am.
east and west. How is that working out for you?
It's worked out perfect. It's saving a whole lot of travel time. You know, as far as a person to move from zone 1 to zone 2, we still have the crew set up like that. Like the grass crew, actually they was right at the landfill the other day when we had the inspection, so they didn't have to travel nowhere. They just went into the landfill and started cutting. They're done with it, and we have a grass crew on the zone 1 end. So they're down on Forest Road now. They're moving pretty good. We're having a little downtime on our old tractors, but it's nothing the guys at the shop that they can't fix. And we might be down 1 day, maybe 2 days, and other than that, we would back up and run. So we're doing pretty good in all those areas.
How many hours do we have on our new graders?
I'm not sure, but I can definitely find out for you. I'll definitely get that information back to you. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Ron, I guess.
I sat back in the back and I was supposed to keep getting up leave, then the commission started leaving, so I was wondering if I was gonna have anybody to speak to. But, yeah, I'll be very short. I do want to digress just to one point, to one thing to Ms. Hines as far as educating our, get some skilled people in the county. I'm on the board of directors for the Building Safety Association of Georgia, and we have partnered with ICC, which is International Code Council. That's the organization that writes all the codes for all the states, building codes. And we have developed a program, an educational program to start training kids in high school to go into the different trades, electrical, plumbing, heating and air. And there's even some financial assistance and expert people available from ICC to go into these schools and help them get the program started.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna meet with Dr. Dixon and explain that to him, and maybe they can get the program started here in Meriwether County, because, and it's badly needed, because the trades people now are retiring out. They're all retiring out. And a master plumber can make $80,000 a year.
That's right.
All these trades can make a real good income, but we need them to get in the workforce, so we're trying to get that started.
Good. Sounds good.
That's as far as my digression goes. So I want to speak to my department, and I've got an additional staff now, which is going to be of tremendous help to me. I'm going to have that individual also assisting with code enforcement and a lot of other things in my office, which is going to free my time to do what I need to be doing, which is planning for the future of this county. So there's a lot of things that's taking up a lot of my time there that needs to be done. One thing, I'm working with Theron and the county attorney with rewriting our entire codes in Meriwether County. We have been assigned a codes attorney with Unicode that we communicate with back and forth. We've been doing this about 3 or 4 months, I guess, and it's a very tedious, detailed work. And we've already identified some orders that just need to be deleted, either because they're irrelevant or they're not in step with state law. So we'll eliminate some of those. We also will be writing new ordinances for the county.
A lot of counties on ordinances included fines and fees and dollar amounts, and that means every time you get ready to update them, you got to change the whole code. So what we're doing is we're extracting all those, putting them in a chart, which can be approved by the board every year, and you just reference them back to the fee chart. So that's going to save a lot of time and effort too.
That's right. The other thing I want to mention is that I'm not getting prepared, have been for a couple of months, getting prepared to do all this detailed work for updating the county's comprehensive plan. And I think we're meeting this month with Three Rivers to get the process started. That's going to be a long and tedious thing to do too, but that's needed. And I have more time to work on things like that, which is what I should have been doing all along, just did not have time to do it. So that's going to be a big help for me getting additional staff. Code enforcement has gotten to be very busy in the county, and these loggers, they are a problem. And you know, if you want to know if Public Works needs to know how long the timber harvest is going to be in place, all they need to do is call my office, and we will give them an estimated time of how long that timber operation is going to be in place. And we will be tightening up on these standards. We'll be holding these loggers to tighter standards. And I went out and looked at Gold Mine Road after I got word that was a problem out there. And that individual forester was from South Georgia, first time they'd been in this county. And he was real apologetic for not having his sign up. He had the sign. We had a permit. He just didn't have it posted. And at that time, he had moved to another location, wasn't any mud at that point, but I think when you went out there, they would come from another location, bringing in a lot of mud. So let's stay on top of that, and with additional help, I can have more people out there looking at this situation. And so that's our permits. They run about from 5 to 10 a month. It just varies. Some months will be maybe 3.
Just new house permits?
House permits.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are, like, does that include like
Well,
conditions
that's
or is that
new houses.
new houses?
Yeah. But the interesting thing about it is there are no new families coming to Meriwether County. These houses being built, they're being built by retired people or people that are not retired, but their kids are left home and gone off to college. Those people coming into Meriwether County and they're building 2,000 and 3,000 square foot houses. So the demographics in Meriwether County has changed. 20 years I've been here, it's been a real drastic change. So our comp plan will be recognizing that, and we'll be, developing a plan to address these changing demographics in Meriwether County. I look forward to that comp plan development because we need some changes.
Madam Chair, can I ask you something? Ms. Jane gave us some information, and I wish we can share with everybody. It's a graph, and it showed the population of Meriwether County, where it said 8% of our population is between the age of 60 to 70, and only 3% of our population is between the age of 20 to maybe 35.
Sure.
So when we look at the dynamics of where our population is going, and the next census is, I think someone said in 2020. So once again, those that are coming into the county are more seasonal people, and that's the bulk of our population. To some people that may be good because they're buying homes and they're not part of the school district, paying in that. But on the other hand, there's a drawback on that because you don't have the young people or that group that could be your sustainable population 10 or 15 years down the road.
Right.
So when we're doing the comprehensive plan, we're going to look at all those numbers and statistics as well.
Be looking at all that, be looking at development plans for the county, but maybe putting in place some of those things might draw young couples into the county. Maybe develop little communities, you know, walkable communities and things like that. Just, I think once we get into this plan along with the steering committee, which can be about 30 people or so, depending on what the county commissioners want to put in there or who you want to put in. But I've submitted a list to Mr. Gay, and I've tried to put people in there that will bring expertise and experience from all phases of life. You know, real estate developers, citizens here in the town, in the county, business operators, just a whole host of people, large landowners that are on large tracts of land that might not necessarily live in the county. But I've got one that's very interested in helping develop Meriwether County. They own about 4,000 acres in the county. And I think that would be a big plus on that steering committee, but that will come next several weeks. You know, we'll sit down and get together and we'll start this process. The very first thing we got to do is appoint that steering committee. And then we'll, yeah, that was a copy of the names I submitted.
The Three Rivers is planning on being here at your next meeting, which is a work session as well. And so they're planning to come and talk to the board about the timetable. This has to be completed in June next year.
That's right.
But we really don't have to have it a couple months ahead of time as we review the state. What they're going to do, and we've asked them to come and outline those milestone steps later. So all that will be presented to the board at your next meeting.
So this will be our opportunity to get the county, everybody together in the county, and the public give us a direction where we want the county to go. The last comp plan we had, everybody wanting these large tracts of land set aside, and that's still good, but we got too many of them.
Yes.
Too many of them set aside in our agriculture zone district. We need to reduce things. We need to reduce the acreage, minimum acreage in a lot of districts. But all that'll come together, and it'll be the result of the meetings that we'll have. So that's all I have.
Any questions?
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, since Ron is up, can I get him to explain to me the 2 acreage needed for building versus the 5 acres needed for building in the county? I thought it was 5 acres, but I've been told it varies.
It varies, depends on the part of the county that the land is in.
Okay.
It can be the 2 acre minimum lot size, 5 acres, 10 acres, or 25 acres. Just depends on where the property is.
So some acres, some parts of the county, you need to own 20 acres of land in order to build.
25 acres or go through the rezoning process. Now, if somebody's got a 1 acre tract in the county and it's recorded prior to 2006, they can build on that. Assuming it gets well and septic something. That's one reason you have these very large acres, because you don't have public water, don't have public sewer. And when you get a building permit, you have to have a well permit, septic certificate, and your lot's got to be large enough to accommodate that well, separate it from the sewer system by 100 feet. And then you got to have additional land to put a new system in if you first and fail. So a minimum of 1 acre is the absolute minimum that you can put a house on. With the new health regulation. But a 25, you don't have to have 25 acres, but if you want to go into A1 zone district, agriculture, and you want to buy, say, 5 acres from a 20 acre tract, you can do that if the rezone is approved by the county commission. And the main reason for that was in 2008, 2006, when we developed the comp plan, there were a lot of people on large tracts of land, and they want to keep those tracts large. They didn't want development coming in there, and that seemed to be the consensus of the county, because we had public hearings all over the county in 2006.
I guess that's my concern. It seemed like some things in this ordinance was put there to protect certain people. Like, I don't know any other way to say it. I'll just say it that way.
Well, not necessarily certain people, but certain
But
areas
I
of the
mean,
county.
in order to require that, you had to have owned like 25 acres of land.
Well, yeah, well, that was an input from the large landowners. But still, it was all put together by the entire county or residents from the county.
It just seemed like it would deter growth for the county.
Well, it does.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm through.
The cove area is one area that I think we ought to keep protected.
What?
The cove area. But all those things will be worked out in the comp plan.
And the cities will be represented, everybody in the county will be represented.
They'll be represented. That's right, since it's a combination plan between the cities and the county.
Yeah.
Cities can do their own plans if they want to, that'll be up to them, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Because they'll have to pay for that. If we do it all together, then this county and cities participate in the cost.
We need to extend an invitation to go do that to all the cities to come and listen to that work session.
Yeah.
Do that.
Okay.
Are there any other departments that need to skip? Is he trying to hide? Skip, you got anything?
Starting to shop around for the new iPhone system, IP phone system. That's been a thorn in everybody's side for a while, so we're shopping that. Starting to put up the wireless bridges we're coming off of AT&T and trying to get everybody on our network. The animal shelter has become my guinea pig for a few things. So, I mean, new start for everything there, might as well. Fixing to order a new server and storage, and it's going to cover a large portion of everybody's storage needs. It's going to be set up to do virtual servers, so we won't have to buy more equipment when, like tax assessor next year is scheduled for a new server. I won't have to buy an actual box. I just build it inside and give it to them. Also, with getting rid of AT&T, starting to move over to a fax to email system. I've got tax commissioners been on it for 3 months. They're doing well with it. I'm moving the commissioner's office over. That's about it. Any questions?
Any questions?
I guess you're enjoying playing with those fiber optics, right?
I do, yeah.
It's a good thing you do.
We're going to address the problems the airport has had as well. Exactly. That. It's quite impressive. Just give Katie to talk to the airport authority the other day.
All right, any other departments? We'll move to Mr. Bill with finance then. You have anything for the sheriff's office?
Madam Chair, I did have a 30-minute presentation for Mayor Lovell, that is strictly with a raise.
Thank you.
Okay.
You got a couple of reports in front of you, bank balances. We'll probably transfer the balance of the 911 out to the general fund, or probably early next month. Wait till I hit the 150 mark and transfer it over. We'll pick up the money from the EMS today. That'll take care of that 92,000. General fund still has a strong balance, and it would expect it to stay pretty close to that 2 million mark at the end of next month, probably. Excited about that. Property tax, I thought we hit that 95% collection rate at the end of June, but we didn't. But we got an extra month now since it changed the law, so I'm pretty sure we did it in July. That'll take care of that. We have to have, we're supposed to have 95% collection rate before we issue the tax calculation. So I was pretty close there. Any questions about? Got a couple more things. We did some CSI training in June. We invited department heads to send people if they wanted to. We've heard all the different modules we have: human resources, payroll, purchasing, got building and zoning to do. They can schedule that. And I think everybody found it informative to learn from that. We got a couple of dates we need to put on the calendar for next month. We'll need a workshop prior to the August 22nd meeting for a military hearing, and then adopt the military at the regular meeting that night. And then September the 26th, we need a workshop prior to the meeting to have the budget hearing and then approve the budget regular meeting on the 26th of September.
Okay, so when in August, just before the meeting on the 22nd?
We need a workshop on the 22nd.
Okay. 4:30?
4:30 is good.
We may have to advertise it as a public hearing, workshop as well, so.
Does 4:30 be the time though? I mean, is that sufficient?
You have a confirmed date?
22nd,
Yeah.
4:30. 4:30. And then regular meeting at 6 p.m.
As soon as we get the consolidation sheets, Joey will do the 5-year history and advertise that as well.
We should be having those here, but as far as he is in the digest, we ought to be having those here in the next week or so.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Certainly.
Bill, I have a question for you. Where are we at with that landfill as far as releasing any of those funds? Have they still hadn't heard anything?
We hadn't pressured anybody on doing that yet. I got the fire district, some other things, so we hadn't forgot about that.
Am I looking at this right? There's an increase in the hotel motel tax? Maybe I'm just, it's about the same?
Balance.
No, the amount. Is that,
It's about, it probably just depends on whenever y'all cut the check. Do y'all do it every month?
No, we usually do it
Yeah.
quarterly, probably, or something.
Oh, okay.
We need to write them a check for $1,500.
Okay. Okay.
Hopefully that is going to increase when the hotel goes up. Now, the money from the host agreement, is it still showing in our general fund right now? I want to make sure we keep that in mind. That's not just to be spent on anything. Anything else, Mr. Bill? All right. We'll move to Mr. Gay.
Chairman, we covered part of the things I was going to talk about when Tyrell was here, so I'll try to go back into that again. In the past week, we of course had to deal with holiday week, which was kind of odd, and getting in contact with a lot of folks. But anyway, we used that productively. We drafted a ordinance for the Jake breaks. We drafted the deeds for the fire station locations. We drafted the leases for the fire district locations. We did right-of-way deeds and temporary construction easement deeds for the two additional culvert projects, so Justin Bullock and Max Cochran. I sent you guys a copy of those yesterday, we did, and we sent them to Susan and just asked her to review this. Not an attorney, but it expedites the situation. I'll also, when I touch base with her, I will go ahead and send the attorneys for the two cities, Lodo and Lucasville, a copy of that lease and let them be looking at it as well. One other I'm going to work on is a lease for potential use of the gymnasium. So we'll do that. So there was a lot of paperwork we did last week, but it was good to note that. As Rod had already mentioned, we have a new employee in the board building the zoning office, and that's been a big help. We've also brought in a gentleman who's very experienced in the assessment business to assist in the assessor's office. He worked 2 days last week. He started regularly this week. He's going to be there in the mornings until about 2 o'clock on Monday through Thursday. And it's going to be a big help. And we've already gone over some things that we think we can do there. And help that. I talked to the architect yesterday on the fire station approach, and hoping that we're going to have those plans all ready for presentation back, discussion with the board at your next meeting. That's going to be our goal. And then I have received some information about training of the service delivery strategy. That's got to take place here, within the next year. If anybody's interested in that, I was hoping it'd be less expensive, but it's kind of pricey. I think it's above what they have been. So unless there's some law changes, I've been doing this before, but I'll pass it around if anybody feels like they need to go, or some of the staff needs to go, we'll certainly get that scheduled.
What kind of costs are we looking at?
I think it was $230 or something for the class
Where's
itself.
the class?
They will set the class up in various locations depending on.
August or September.
Yeah, they've got a couple.
Is that in the Hudson County area?
Okay.
Class.
So we could
If
travel.
it was, we could travel back and forth. I mean, I just don't know if any of us have had any training in that whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, you may have, but.
I think, according to that chart, we had one person that had.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there may not be on the board anymore.
And so anyway, I will send that to you guys. It may be something that we may need to consider. And if we do, we'll get that. I'll get that out.
Well, I mean, none of us, other than Miss Mary, went to the commissioner's training, we
Right.
saved that because normally we all do that. And that would be a lot more expensive than the $230, so maybe it's something we need
But
to
it would
look
be,
at.
it'd be something that would probably be interesting. What is it?
It's either be in August or September.
August 31st, in or near Lamar County.
Does this count toward our continuing hours?
I think it does.
I think it does.
I think they want to know something by this Friday.
I'm interested in it.
You're interested,
So,
okay.
I don't know.
Good. That's why we wanted to bring it up, is to see
31st is on a Thursday.
Just that one day.
what day.
Oh, so it's just a one-day training?
I think so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought you said it was on.
I thought it was multiple days.
Yeah, let's be just, yeah. You interested, Are y'all interested, are you interested?
I have to check my calendar.
Okay. I don't have anything on the 31st right now, so.
Yeah, we got it from Dave and Beverly said be a copy of it, so I'll get everybody else.
Is he the one doing the training, about Dave Wills?
It doesn't
I'm
say.
sure he'll be involved in it. Yeah, I don't think it says.
I'll get all the information, let you know today.
Okay.
Okay. So I did want to mention that training was coming up. We already had a little bit of feedback on service delivery. This came from the water and sewer authority. In the old service delivery, there was some kind of water board that was to be appointed that was going to help guide in the direction of the water, the future of the water. And of course, they have asked for consideration of the board, since they represent all segments of the county, that they need to be able to serve in that capacity. So we get ready to talk about that. I want us to keep that in mind. They made that. And so that's all I have. I do have some executive session items involving personnel, litigation, and real estate.
All right, we'll move on to county commissioners.
I do want to say thank you to all the department heads for coming out. And in the 5 years that I've been here as a commissioner, things have changed, and I honestly think that they have changed for the better. We want to continue to move in that direction, but even though we have moved into a better direction, I think we need to become more standardized across the board for everyone. And the expectations, the follow-ups, the retentions, there needs to be a plan in place that's pretty standard for everybody. So that's the next step that I personally want to see, is to come up with that for everybody, so that it's not here with this one, here with this one, here with that, and nobody really knows where we're at. It's time to bring it all together.
With Beverly and I talked to Bill, we have our personnel management system. We've not had a chance to this point to address it, to hit a lot of things. And Beverly and I talked. I think what we're going to do probably here in the next few months is just schedule a day or so a week until we can get that done. And we want to talk about the pay delivery as well. We need consistency coming in. And it's just one of those things we're just going to have to block out, and we may have to go and meet over at the training center or something to get away from the phones and everything just to do that. But I think we can, the three of us, if we can think a couple of days, I think we can make a lot of improvements there. We'll make that.
And I'm not saying it's not done because of y'all. I'm saying, in my personal opinion, up until this board was in place, and Roseland too, when she was here, every one of us were on board for getting the county where it needed to be and getting something more standardized. So it's now allowable by this board and wanted by it to get it done. So
I will say, I'm not saying that because you guys are here, y'all have done a lot of really good stuff in the county. I think the employees will tell you that. I think the citizens will tell you that once they're before. Just put a lot of things y'all have done, and the employees appreciate the support that y'all give. I really talked about that earlier. And but I agree with you. That's a thing that we talked about here a few weeks ago. We need to get that done too. We will work on that as a government.
Just a comment that Sissy brought up, we've plowed in this field before and talked about a standardized report. And with what we've got now, could we get some sort of weekly standardized report from our department heads?
Yes,
in other words, just get some highlights, kind of let us see what's going on.
And I know I've done that on occasion in the past. I wish I could do it every week. Sometimes I'm just like, I run out of daylight. But I have all of you now, I have asked Allison and Skip and others to set up where everybody can see my calendar.
Exactly.
And I think you guys can all see the calendar. So again, I'll invite you to any meeting that you see that you want to have. Sometimes it also includes personal meetings, as well, like my meetings, but, you're welcome to come to that too if you like. So, you actually were going to that, I believe.
Yes, I did.
But one thing I do have a concern about that, weekly may be too much to request for department heads to take that additional time out and do something. If it were monthly or quarterly would be fine with me, because I know how it is to be that busy, to sit down and have an expectation of a report for that week on everything. And I don't think it's every department that needs to give us a report. It's those that are having changes, those that are having things that need to be done in the public. But monthly report is not on me.
Some of the departments, I know we get a report for public works on a weekly basis on road activities. Some of the departments may not have a lot to say other than, say this last week or whatever. We can do it. We can do it, twice a month, once a month, whatever the board wants. We'll make it work for you. Sure. So I'll look at some great report. And I really thought today was good to have everybody come up and give us a report too. Gets it out to the news media and lets everybody know what we've got going on. But I'll work on that. Okay. That's all I have.
I don't have a lot. I do want to express my appreciation to the department heads for giving us the information. I like hearing the statistics and stuff too. I mean, how many calls we got or whatever. I mean, it's not something we have to know all the time, but it gives us an idea of what is going on out there. And I know it was long, it was probably boring to some that were listening, if it wasn't, but it was very informative to us. And we need that every once in a while, just so we have an idea of what's going on. But again, thank you for the work that you do. And I agree with Commissioner Trujillo. I think we're in a good place. It's not to say we don't have things to improve on and things to continue to work on, but I dare say that we're in our county is in a better place than it has been in recent years. Thank you.
I don't have the experience to go back and look at the number of years that y'all are talking, but I'm pretty pleased with where we are, I think, at this time. And we mentioned this earlier, but I will bring it back up again since I was the guinea pig here, I think. As far as receiving the first work order that was done, intended for Public Works. And it's quite concise, I like that. And I understand there'll be follow-up here when the work's completed. I think that really is part of what I was looking at, helps keep us in the loop so we'll know a little more about it. And I shared that up here with the commissioners so they all know what this thing's gonna look like. But I think that is a good system. I'm glad we're doing that. One quick thing I would like to mention here also is the Airport Authority. We had that meeting on Monday. And the Airport Authority is really doing some good things. I guess my frustration with working there is the fact you're working through the federal agencies and the state agencies, and it seems like things just go so slow there. It takes them forever and such a ton of paper to get it out there. But there are some changes being made, and pretty soon they'll be grading down the south end of the airport, getting it where it's less in height, less elevation than what the runway is. So I think that's going to be a good thing. The other thing that's still a thorn in our side is the old house down there. And you were going to meet with somebody about that. What did you find out?
I did. I met with a lady who is the sister of a person that we all know well who has another father when she died. I'll just say that. And she was very interested. She thinks she had some family history back to the house.
Oh, wow.
So we looked at it and sadly was there as well. We looked at from that standpoint, very impressed with it. And, she was going to go back and talk to some family members and others to see about the potential for acquiring the house and potentially relocating it. And that's what we told them, the Airport Authority, they came down, a couple of them, and, very, very good meeting. She spent probably an hour there looking at it. And that's what we need. And she's going to try to get the word out because, our goal would be, it's going to become an obstruction to the airport. It's got to be moved at some point. Rather than see it demolished or sold as older material, which there's a market for, we'd like to see it moved and be renovated, from those standpoints. So yes, sir, there was some interest there, and I hope that we'll hear back from her soon.
You told her it's our most cherished relic. Please take it.
I told her we'd make her a good deal.
Good deal. The other thing I was going to report on was Meriwether yesterday. The weather was beautiful when we had that meeting. I mean, it dropped down nicely. We were outside under the pavilion. It really turned out to be a nice day. Had good attendance down there. Some of the users of the park came in and sat and gave us good reports. There is a growing interest in that area, I think. And also, those people that come in think it's a little secret that we keep all to ourselves, but they're so glad we let them come. So we've got to change that just a little bit. One of the things that was voted on down there last night, and I'll be bringing it to the commissioners next meeting, is the gate that we have discussed at length about having some security. And one of the ladies down there told us about some four-wheelers that came in one night, and they were very afraid it was going to get into the children on the bikes. So there is a need for security down there, there's no doubt. One other item that was brought up was the disc golf, and at this time, the board voted not to finish the course. I know that was much to Larry's disdain and some of the other disdain, but that is going to be their recommendation. And understand, Lake Meriwether is just a advisory board, and we'll just make recommendations to this board, and of course, this board has the final say. And I think, all in all, that's about all I have. Thank y'all for appearing today and giving your reports. That was good.
Once again, I want to thank the department heads for the information they provided. It was very good information, very needed. And once again, those citizens were able to sit through it. I'm sure some of it was a little boring or maybe enlightening, but this is what helped us grow. This is information like this let us know that we're either headed in the right direction or we need to make some changes. So thank you. Just a couple of things I want to share in reference as the representative for the legislative for ACCG. I did a focus group meeting on small business development on Senate Bill 133, and out of that I was able to contact ACCG to get a little bit more information regarding that Senate bill. That bill is going to be ministered to DCA, Department of Community Affairs. The gentleman that's over that, I apologize, I can't think of his last name. First name is Rusty. He's the commissioner over that. He did email me back to say that they are going to be working on that. It's going to be later in the year because they're going to focus on another bill called House Bill 73. And House Bill 73, and Mr. Gay pulled it up for us when we were in the IDA meeting, talks about revitalization for downtown and for small cities. And they brought to my attention this would be a good program for Meriwether County. So I will try to get someone to come back in and explain House Bill 73 to us in more depth. But once again, to the mayors of the cities in Meriwether County, this will be a great opportunity for them. It is a program where you can come in, revitalize your downtown. There's going to be funding for people to open up a business in your downtown area, and there will be some incentives for them to do that, and also tax credit. And then also for anyone that you employ at least 2 employees, you'll be able to get credit for that as well. So when we think about our cities from Manchester to Warm Springs to Greenville, this is a great opportunity. If you want more information about it for the mayors that are here, you can go to the GMA website. It's already posted on that. They were one that was pushing it. So you hear me say all the time, let Meriwether County be that community or cities that you can use as an example. So once again, excited about House Bill 73. Also, when we talk about economic growth and expanding the county as well as the cities, to the mayors that are still here, if you're not aware of it, August the 22nd through the 25th will be a conference in Columbus, Georgia, which is very close to us, and it's a downtown development conference. So if you're aware of it, if not, then I'll be glad to pass that information on to you, because as the city grows, it also helps the county as well. I think that's it for me. Once again, thank you all for the report. Oh, the other thing is as Commissioner Thrager was mentioning, standardizing some of our procedures. Is that also part of making sure we have a discussion about job description? We have talked about that several times before. Would that be part of that same discussion?
Beverly and Allison, I think, have already been working on job descriptions already, with feedback from the various departments. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to go in and try to classify those various jobs into the pay delivery system, and then we'll be able to, to have a tracking system. We'll be able to have consistency with new hires, consistency of promotions. So there'll be a lot of things that be involved.
My last thing is, once again, it was nice to hear the different department heads that mentioned the different grants that we've been awarded and some of the grants that they are now applying for. So once again, I appreciate all the effort people are taking and looking at other resources for the county as well.
All right, we come now to the time of public comment. If there's anyone here that would like to comment, to come to the podium, give us your name. We'll give you 3 minutes to speak.
Sure. My name's Larry Dunaway. I'm signed up on the public comment sheet here. I want to apologize to Buster and Theron for losing my temper with Robert last night. When I tried to, when Kevin and myself tried to update the advisory committee on disc golf and where it was and what's going on with disc golf in our area, Robert interrupted probably about 14 times, and I kind of lost my temper with him.
We tried to control him, but it's...
I appreciate that, Buster. Y'all were, I think you needed a whistle or a referee shirt, one of the two. But
Both of you handled it
what I'd like to ask you to do is to take my somewhat abrasive personality that I have and take that out, and also take Robert's attitude toward disc golf out of the decision what to do with the disc golf course. From day one, Robert has not wanted the disc golf course there. I can't explain why. I don't know why. He keeps telling me nobody's playing, but I go out there and look at the ground and I see where people are playing. If we're going to have it, we need to finish it. If we're not going to finish it, we need to do away with it. It's one of the biggest mistakes that our tourism folks have told us is try to marketing something that's not ready. We've done that. We've stumped our foot. Right now with the disc golf community, our name is mud. The disc golfers refer to Mr. Robert as Mr. Grumpy. He's rude to them. So, if you'd like for Kevin and I to come back at a work session and kind of go over the same thing I did last night with the committee, I'll be glad to. But, if we're not going to finish it, then we might as well just take it up. Griffin's going to put in their third course, but we can sell it to them.
I think one of the big things, Larry, last night was the simple funding, and we talked about that at the meeting. If we could come up with the funding, I don't think you'd have any problem.
Well, the little estimate I had of the work, I probably overestimated a little bit because that's what I'm used to doing with government projects. Basically, about a week and a half with a Bobcat with 2 loads of gravel and a little bit of material would finish the course up. So it's not, it's not Chinese arithmetic. It ain't hard.
Do we know how many people are going in? Is there?
It's almost a guess because Robert is so rude to him, and he doesn't. When Robert gives his report at the lake, he doesn't even mention the disc golfers. And the other thing is, they will pay, but we got to finish the course. To market it, you got to finish it.
And I will say to you, I have friends in Virginia and in Minnesota that I've spoken to in the last month, and they are all about disc golf.
It's hard to explain how big it is without going to another golf course somewhere. Kevin McCoy he is probably going to put in a bid for the 2020 amateur. He's going to try to put in a bid for the 2020 Amateur World Championships, and he wants to do that on the south side of Atlanta. And that takes about 5 or 6 courses because you got about 800 players. He would love to include our course in that. That would mean 800 visitors to the county. When I ran my course, there was no problem for the players to pay. But I think we've established a fee of about $3. All we need to do is put a drop box out there. Robert is so rude to them, they won't even come over to the shack.
And that brings up a whole nother issue that probably needs to be handled elsewhere, but I'm about to say it anyway. If somebody works for us, by golly, they need to be nice to the customer. And they may not always agree with what we're going to do, but if we've made a decision to do something, then they need to be on board or they need to be out. We can't have that. We're working together as a team, and if they're working for us, they need to be on board with whatever decision. I may not agree with every decision that's made here, but I don't stand up here and pitch a fit and holler about it.
And I will certainly address that. And I knew that.
That's not the first time, and it's not been just disc golfers. Okay. It's been campers. It's been other things too.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a comment.
If I could just change my hat for just a minute, and the chief's not here, but I want to give our fire protection people a big hit. I've been responding to fires in this county for the Red Cross for about 5 years. I see a difference now. I'm the last, they're the first responder, and I'm the last responder that shows up. But when I get there, I can tell that we got more equipment on scene, on site quicker. Unfortunately, a lot of our structures don't survive because of the age of them and just some other things, but we're doing better.
Madam Chair, to Mr. Dunley and to our chief, thank you all for the passion what you all shared with us today. I personally felt it, and I know it gets difficult sometimes, but just stay strong in the things that you're doing and the work that you're doing. And as Madam Chair said, everybody's not going to always see things the same way. So we still got to move forward, regardless of that. You're all going to see things differently. It's just like in the tourism group, geocache. I still don't know what it is. I really don't care what it is. But we know that in the tourism industry, it is a big phenomenon. And as we're looking at economic growth for this county and determining what that's going to look like for Meriwether County for the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to have to be a little bit more open-minded. Everybody's not going to see things the same way. You share the information and you keep moving. And I think that's where we're going to have to look at, because based on what we're doing right now, as far as the revenue we've got coming in, we definitely got to think outside. So disc golf, geocache, zombie trails, there's so many different things out here now. At the end of the day, every county is looking for sustainability. Everybody's looking how they can bring revenue in, but keep it sustainable. So appreciate all the work that you've done over the years, Mr. Dunaway. So I know there are moments where it seems like nobody's listening, but we appreciate it. I personally appreciate it.
When I put on my Red Cross hat, I am the one and only Red Cross person in the county. I'm on 24/7 call. So if anybody else would like to volunteer, I'll be glad to get you in our program.
We appreciate all our volunteers in every aspect of the county, and maybe at some point in time the board will discuss what can we do on an annually basis to recognize our volunteers. There's National Volunteer Day, but those who commit their time away from their regular duties, volunteerism is the strongest thing that America has. It's one of the things that make our country so unique, is that people give up their time away from everything else that they do to be a part of their community, and that is something that Meriwether County does very well, very well. So thank you once again.
All right, any other comments? If not, we do have to go into executive session. We have our next meeting.
Yeah, it is July the 25th. Sorry.
That's all right. July 25th, there will be a 4:30 work session, followed by the meeting at 6 o'clock. We hope all of you will be able to attend. We are going to go into executive session. You're certainly welcome to stay around if you want to hear the end result of that. You have a motion to go into executive session at 11:32.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor?